Hey Asborn, what is the main reason why one should attend non-duality retreat? Stupid question. Because your heart says so, which is this flow. Because the flow says so. So when there's just a yes that comes up, we're always looking for something in time. I'm going to attend this non-duality retreat because I'm going to be enlightened at the end of it. But the non-duality retreat, or the teacher, should be teaching that it's about coming back to your initial flow. So if when you're looking on my website and you think, and there's like a yes that comes up, or a movement towards that, like a wanting of that, then there's the flow. Not a wanting because you're telling yourself it's going to complete you or you're going to get somewhere from it, but because there's just a yes to it that comes up in that moment. The body always is moving towards pleasure. There's nothing wrong with that movement towards pleasure, to that which it likes and that which it loves. It's just this constant story about it adding to you and looking for completion. There is no completion in time. So you come to the non-duality retreat because your heart says yes. The mind is always like, if I do this, I will get this in return. And that's the suffering way to live. So with Khaleesi, trust me, I don't think... Sorry, Andor, I will call you in a second. And I'll just call. So with Khaleesi, I'm not thinking to myself, hang on, I just have to... I'm not thinking to myself, by looking after you, what am I going to get? By walking you, what am I going to get? Hey, Khaleesi. Hit up. Khaleesi. I can take up. So she's just passing out because she just had her food. She's in digest mode, like a snake. You know how when the snake is digesting a big animal, it then sleeps. So she's not... So I don't think about what she's going to give me tomorrow. I'm just enjoying her for what she is now. And it was the same with when I got her. It wasn't like this whole thing about what it's going to be in time. The heart just said yes. Well, not initially, but eventually it did. And day to day, I'm not always trying to suck the life out of her by, what are you going to give me? My heart just responds to her with yes. Yes. So you look at the retreat, and if your heart responds with yes, that's it. Look at my little tree there. It's not doing so well. Khaleesi buried her bone in it, and then I woke up one morning to the whole bowl having maggots in it. And so it's now in recovery. I got rid of the maggots, but I'm not sure if it's going to survive. Hey, Miss Khaleesi. Somebody put her bone in the flower pot again. You see, when you do things out of bartering, like, I'll do this and then I'll get that, inevitably will make you unhappy. So say in relationships, if we take it back to personal relationships, you're always bartering, and say you live with someone, you do something for them, and you're not even conscious of it, but you can maybe unfeel it underneath. You do something for them, and underneath you're doing it with a condition that they'll do something back for you. And that's okay, but living like that is inevitably going to bring suffering, because when they don't do that, you won't be conscious of it, but you'll build resentment for them when they don't play your game. And then you'll keep building resentment over time for that person. The true way to live with someone is to, as much as you can, follow your flow. And if those two flows go together, then that's beautiful. But if they keep clashing, then that's not an ideal. If the flows keep not matching and they keep going other way, then that's not ideal. That's not... What we do is we think, if I don't behave like this, I'm going to lose them. And we're constantly trying to convince each other to be a different way. And we're playing all these unconscious games of what they're going to give me, they're going to complete me. I mean, what a disaster to base a relationship on they're going to complete me. But that's the norm in society. That's the norm mentality. Then when they fart, You build up resentment for them every time because it hurts you, and you feel like, I don't know, people are crazy. People might think that my partner is farting because they don't love me enough. And there's this build up happening energetically in the body. And you sacrifice again and again your own needs for the relationship needs, your own wants for the relationship needs. And then we wonder why we're suffering. And then we've got so uncomfortable in our body because for so many years we've been living this lie that that we can't even feel that natural impulse, that childlike joy. Oh dear God. And that's what I realized awakening was like for me, was tending me back to being more like a child, but just with intellectual thinking. So more like a child's behaviour. So Lisa is more like she was when she was a child, where you remember as a child you just played, you cried because you cried, you laughed because you laughed, and you played because you played, and you just naturally following your flow, rather than living, if I play with this child, it will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pleasures. If I play with this child, it will give me 1, 2, 3 pleasures. Rather than that happening in the mind, it's not as obvious as that. The child is just following its instinct, and if it's playing with a kid and it doesn't want to play with it anymore, it's like off it goes to the other kid. Oh, come on. And your mind is most probably thinking, but just go back and go back to the body and the sensations, because sensations is it. The emptiness is in the sensations and in what's actually happening, not in the intellect. So begin to go back to the body. Now really there is no body. The body and the world are the same thing, but go back to what's actually happening. See what's happening in the mind. And so that's what I meant about don't let somebody convince you about presence. We have this idea that presence looks like some meditating Buddha with big eyes and that speaks like this. Now I can sometimes speak like that, and sometimes I'm more funky, but I don't have a way. I just am as I am in that moment. Sometimes I've got the energy of like, and then sometimes I've got the more spunky side, and then sometimes I'm more grumpy, more funny. Sometimes I have the singing mood where I sing to Khaleesi. Don't let somebody try to convince you of their spirituality. That's what a lot of the time, that's what happens. But often that's not because they're being deceptive. It's just because they've come from a tradition of that. And so therefore it's just being passed on in that tradition. But then your mind begins to believe that that's it, and that's not it. That's just conditioning. The freedom is you, yourself, being yourself. And yourself won't be a baddie. The baddie comes from not being yourself. You get so wound up from not being yourself, there's something, and then the evilness comes out. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. I can do funky things with my finger. Okay, end of that. Just be. I must be like a Buddha. I must never have emotions. Forget all that. Just be as you are. If you have emotions, you have it. and explore it. Explore it. If I'm making you feel great now, that's what's happening. If it's not even me, but if there's a bad feeling now, that's what's happening. And when it's a bad feeling, you can have an examination. I feel bad because I'm not enlightened. And then if you go into it, you'll see that it's not that you feel bad because you don't feel enlightened. It's just that deep down at the core of separation is always this feeling, I'm not enough. And it's not true. But just let that feeling be there. I'm not enough in its raw form, rather than I'm not good enough because I'm not enlightened, so therefore I have to pretend to be more enlightened. It's not aware that it's pretending, but it tries to put on its enlightenment clothes. Rather than trying to put on your enlightenment clothes, just be with that raw feeling of I'm not enough. Rather than trying to act enlightened. So you have this feeling of I'm not enlightened enough, so let me call Lisa and show her how enlightened I am, and if she validates me, then I feel more enlightened. Again, you won't be conscious of those thoughts, you'll just feel the urge to want to show me you're enlightened. And just go into that feeling and see that at the bottom of it, I'm not enough. There's a little voice that when separation happened, I'm not enough. It doesn't even move its top lip. It goes, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. Just as a bottom lip movement. The top lip only comes in play when it suddenly goes, I'm not enough. But I am better than my neighbour. And then it's all top lip. I'm better than my neighbour. Let me show them how I'm more enlightened and better than them. But underneath it's, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. So just go back to those initial feelings and be honest with yourself. Allow that sensation to take over, and you'll actually realise that in the initial sensation of everything, there's total freedom, and that's who you really are. It's this initial creation that you're touching God in every moment. You're touching the divine. Everything that appears, every thought, every feeling, every sensation that appears is directly from the divine. It's only when you're trying to be someone, I am better than my neighbour, that you forget God. You're suddenly trying to be this entity, and it feels removed from who you actually are. Because who you are is this expression. I can really talk. My mother talks a lot, and I always thought that I didn't talk that much, but I think that I am a chatterbox just like my mother. Yes. Hi Lisa. Isn't it difficult for us seekers to distinguish between one hand following one's heart, being oneself, following one's flow like a child, and on the other hand, ordinary selfishness, even callousness? Well, yeah, but I mean, the selfishness and the callousness comes from a dark place. It doesn't feel nice. It's quite easy, actually. It's just that you don't want to admit to yourself normally when you're doing that selfishness and callousness. So therefore you're telling yourself you're doing it out of goodness for the other person or something. But actually it's quite obvious because it comes from this contraction and this darkness. Hey Lisa. Hiya. Hey Lisa, love and appreciation of your energy you're giving out. So much care, patience, understanding and love you radiate. It's amazing, no words to describe, just feeling it. Thanks. Yeah, Chris! Go Chris! Nice. Thanks for sharing that, Chris.